There are certain things that quietly shape your life, not because they are powerful, but because you allow them to remain. Most damage is not done by dramatic events. It is done by small tolerations repeated daily. What you refuse to eliminate becomes a silent agreement with stagnation. Transformation does not begin with addition. It begins with removal. The first thing you must quietly eliminate is the need for constant validation. When your sense of worth depends on approval, your behavior becomes negotiable. You adjust your truth to fit expectations. This weakens your identity. Real confidence is not loud or defensive. It is calm and internally anchored. When you stop seeking permission to be yourself, your actions become clean and decisive. The second thing to remove is emotional reactivity. Reacting gives away control. It allows external events and other people to dictate your inner state. Power is found in the pause. When you respond instead of react, you act from clarity rather than impulse. This discipline changes the quality of every decision you make. Third, eliminate mental clutter. Unfinished thoughts, unresolved resentment, and constant information overload scatter your focus. A distracted mind cannot build anything meaningful. Simplify what you consume. Resolve what you avoid. Clarity is not a gift. It is a result of deliberate reduction. The fourth thing to eliminate is the illusion of urgency. Everything does not require immediate attention. Urgency creates anxiety and poor judgment. Learn to distinguish between what is important and what is merely loud. Calm execution outperforms frantic motion every time. Fifth, quietly remove relationships that thrive on drama rather than growth. This does not require confrontation. It requires distance. Energy is transferred through proximity. When you stay close to chaos, chaos becomes familiar. When you choose calm, your standards rise naturally. The sixth thing to eliminate is self-betrayal. Every time you ignore your own boundaries, you weaken trust with yourself. Broken self-trust leads to hesitation and doubt. Keep small promises. Honor your word to yourself. This restores inner stability. Seventh, eliminate the habit of postponing discipline. Waiting for motivation delays progress. Action precedes motivation, not the other way around. Build routines that operate regardless of mood. Consistency reshapes identity. Eighth, remove attachment to outcomes. When you cling to results, you compromise process. Focus on what you can control: effort, preparation, and integrity. Release what you cannot. This shift reduces anxiety and increases effectiveness. Ninth, eliminate comparison. Measuring your life against someone else's timeline distorts perspective. Everyone carries unseen struggles. Comparison steals presence. Presence fuels progress. The 10th thing you must eliminate is the belief that growth must be visible to be real. Quiet progress is still progress. Transformation often happens beneath the surface long before it is seen. Work in silence. Let results speak. When you remove what weakens you, you create space for strength. Not through force, but through precision. Not through noise, but through restraint. A disciplined life is not crowded. It is clear. Elimination is a form of self-respect because every boundary you draw is a declaration of worth. What you remove from your life defines you just as clearly as what you keep. Most people think self-respect comes from confidence, success, or recognition, but it begins much earlier and much quieter. In the moment you decide that not everything deserves access to your time, your energy, or your mind. When you eliminate what weakens you, you are not losing anything valuable. You are reclaiming space for strength. Self-respect is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not argue or justify. It acts. It notices what drains, distracts, or diminishes, and it steps back without drama. Many people remain exhausted, not because life is too demanding, but because they carry too much that was never meant to be carried. Unnecessary commitments, unhealthy attachments, habits that once provided comfort, but now steal clarity. Elimination is the courage to admit that something no longer belongs, even if it once did. There is a quiet discipline in choosing less noise, less chaos, less emotional clutter. The mind thrives on order, yet most people allow disorder to live rent-free in their lives. Endless information, endless opinions, endless comparison. When you eliminate excess, your thoughts slow down, your decisions sharpen, and your actions become deliberate. This is not deprivation, it is refinement. Elimination requires honesty. You must look at your life without excuses and ask what truly serves your growth and what merely fills space. This is uncomfortable because it exposes patterns you have tolerated out of fear, habit, or convenience. It reveals where you have been passive instead of intentional. But self-respect grows when you stop lying to yourself. When you acknowledge that some things are costing you more than they are giving. Respecting yourself means understanding that your energy is finite. Every yes is a withdrawal. Every distraction is a tax. When you say yes to everything, you are saying no to yourself. Elimination teaches you to spend your energy with care. It trains you to protect your inner state, not aggressively, but firmly. You do not owe your availability to everyone. You do not owe your attention to every impulse. There is strength in subtraction. A sculptor does not create by adding endlessly, but by removing what does not belong until the form reveals itself. Your life works the same way. The person you are meant to become is already there, buried under excess. Elimination uncovers rather than creates. It clears the path instead of forcing the outcome. Self-respect also means refusing to carry emotional weight that is not yours. Guilt, resentment, and the need for approval are heavy burdens. They pull you away from presence and into reaction. When you eliminate the habit of internalizing everything, you regain balance. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of comply. This is not coldness, it is clarity. Many people mistake elimination for rejection or failure. They think letting go means admitting defeat. In reality, it is an act of maturity. Children collect everything. Adults curate. Wisdom knows that not every opportunity is an opportunity, not every relationship is a responsibility, and not every thought deserves belief. Eliminating what weakens you allows what strengthens you to take root. Self-respect is reflected in your environment. A cluttered space mirrors a cluttered mind. When you remove physical disorder, mental order follows. When you simplify your surroundings, your nervous system relaxes. Elimination creates calm, not through control, but through alignment. Everything has its place, including you. There is also elimination of internal habits. Negative self-talk, procrastination, and emotional avoidance are learned behaviors, not identities. When you stop feeding them, they lose influence. Self-respect means correcting yourself without cruelty. It means holding standards without self-hate. You eliminate weakness not by fighting it, but by refusing to nurture it. Elimination teaches patience. It is not a one-time act, but a continuous practice. New distractions appear. Old patterns attempt to return. Each time you choose to remove what no longer aligns, you strengthen trust in yourself. That trust becomes stability. Stability becomes confidence. Confidence becomes quiet authority. Respecting yourself does not require perfection. It requires awareness and adjustment. It requires the humility to admit when something is no longer working, and the courage to change course without needing permission. Elimination is how you honor your future self. It is how you stop leaking energy into places that will never return it. When you eliminate what is unnecessary, you gain time. When you gain time, you gain space. When you gain space, you gain perspective. And from perspective, wise action emerges naturally. Life stops feeling overwhelming, not because it becomes easier, but because you become lighter. Self-respect is not about proving your value to others. It is about living in a way that reflects it internally. Every elimination is a silent agreement with yourself that your peace matters, your focus matters, your growth matters. Over time, these small, quiet decisions compound into a life that feels intentional rather than reactive, grounded rather than scattered, strong rather than strained. Silence reveals what noise hides, because noise is not only sound, it is movement without direction, information without meaning, and reaction without understanding. Most people surround themselves with constant stimulation, not because they enjoy it, but because stillness feels unfamiliar. In silence, there is no distraction to lean on, no external rhythm to follow. What remains is the self, unfiltered and exposed. This is why silence is avoided, yet this is precisely why it is powerful. Noise creates the illusion of progress. Activity feels like purpose, and constant input feels like growth. But noise fragments attention and weakens perception. When the mind is bombarded, it loses the ability to distinguish what matters from what does not. Silence restores that ability. It slows the internal pace enough for patterns to emerge. In quiet moments, you begin to notice where your energy goes, what your thoughts return to, and which emotions have been left unresolved. Silence is not empty. It is full of information that cannot be accessed through noise. The body speaks in silence. Tension reveals itself. Fatigue becomes obvious. Intuition grows louder. When noise dominates, these signals are drowned out. You continue moving forward without realizing you are misaligned. Silence interrupts this momentum and forces awareness. Awareness is the first step toward correction. Many fears survive only because they are never examined. Noise allows avoidance. It fills every gap where reflection might occur. In silence, excuses fall apart. You cannot scroll away discomfort or drown it out with opinions. You must face what is there. This confrontation is not punishment. It is clarity. What you understand loses its power to control you unconsciously. Silence also reveals the quality of your thoughts. In noise, thoughts are reactive, borrowed, and scattered. In silence, they slow down and become your own. You begin to recognize which beliefs were inherited, which were conditioned, and which are truly yours. This distinction is critical. A life built on borrowed beliefs lacks stability. Silence returns ownership of the mind to its rightful place. There is a discipline in choosing silence in a world addicted to sound. It is a form of resistance. When you sit in silence, you are no longer being shaped by algorithms, trends, or external expectations. You step out of collective noise and into personal truth. This does not make you superior, but it makes you grounded. Grounded people move differently. They speak less and observe more. They react slower and respond with precision. Silence exposes imbalance. When you finally stop, you notice what you have been neglecting. Relationships that lack presence, work that lacks meaning, goals that no longer resonate. Noise keeps you moving forward without questioning direction. Silence forces the question. It asks whether your actions are aligned or merely habitual. There is also silence in action. Not all silence is stillness. Moving without commentary, without announcing intentions, without seeking validation, is a form of silence. It protects your energy. When you act quietly, you reduce interference. Plans grow stronger when they are not constantly exposed to opinion. Noise invites doubt. Silence allows development. In silence, patience is trained. The urge to fill space reveals itself quickly. Restlessness surfaces. The mind searches for stimulation. If you remain still, that urge softens. What replaces it is presence. Presence sharpens perception. You begin to notice subtleties that were previously invisible. Tone in conversations, shifts in your emotional state, opportunities that do not announce themselves loudly. Silence reveals discipline. Anyone can be loud. Anyone can react instantly. Restraint requires strength. When you do not immediately respond, you gain leverage over the moment. You choose timing instead of being controlled by impulse. Silence between stimulus and response is where power resides. Noise often disguises insecurity as expression. Constant talking, posting, and sharing can be a way to seek reassurance. Silence removes that crutch. It asks you to be enough without external affirmation. This builds inner stability. When validation is no longer required, freedom emerges. Silence also deepens listening. When you are not preparing to speak, you hear more accurately. People reveal themselves through what they say and what they avoid. Noise makes you miss these details. Silence sharpens discernment. You understand not only words but intention. In quiet moments, purpose clarifies. Not because answers suddenly appear, but because unnecessary questions fall away. You stop chasing everything and start recognizing what truly matters. Direction becomes simpler. Decisions become cleaner. Silence is not withdrawal from life. It is engagement at a deeper level. It removes the fog created by excess input and restores clarity. When noise fades, truth does not need to shout. It is already there, waiting to be noticed. Energy is your true currency because everything you create, maintain, or destroy in your life is paid for with it. Money can be earned, borrowed, or replaced. But energy is constantly being spent and constantly diminishing. Every thought you think, every conversation you engage in, every environment you tolerate requires energy. When people feel stuck, unmotivated, or lost, it is rarely because they lack talent or opportunity. It is because their energy is being mismanaged. Most people budget their money carefully, but allow their energy to leak without awareness. They wake up already tired, not from physical effort, but from mental clutter. Worry about the future, regret about the past, and comparison in the present all drain energy before the day even begins. By the time action is required, there is nothing left to give. Understanding energy as currency changes how you live. You become selective. You begin to ask whether something is worth the cost. Energy is spent first internally. Your inner dialogue sets the tone. Harsh self-criticism, constant doubt, and unresolved emotional tension consume more energy than physical labor. The mind can exhaust the body long before the body reaches its limits. When your thoughts are scattered, your energy is scattered. When your thoughts are disciplined, your energy becomes concentrated. Concentrated energy produces results that scattered effort never will. Where you place your attention determines where your energy flows. Attention is not neutral. Whatever you focus on grows stronger in your experience. If you focus on problems, you energize obstacles. If you focus on growth, you energize solutions. This does not mean ignoring reality, but choosing consciously what deserves your focus. Energy invested in what you cannot control produces anxiety. Energy invested in what you can influence produces momentum. Relationships are one of the largest energy expenses in life. Some interactions leave you grounded and clear. Others leave you depleted and tense. This is not about labeling people as good or bad, but about recognizing energetic exchange. When you consistently give more than you receive, resentment builds and vitality fades. Managing energy requires boundaries, not walls, but filters. You decide how much access others have to your time, emotions, and presence. Energy is also consumed by resistance. Fighting reality drains more energy than adapting to it. When you argue internally with what already is, you waste strength that could be used to change what can be changed. Acceptance is not surrender. It is efficiency. It stops unnecessary expenditure. From acceptance, intelligent action becomes possible. Your physical habits directly influence your energetic reserves. Sleep, movement, nutrition, and breath are not lifestyle preferences, they are energy management tools. Neglecting the body forces the mind to compensate, and the cost is high. A tired body creates a foggy mind. A foggy mind makes poor decisions. Poor decisions waste even more energy. This cycle continues until awareness interrupts it.